The next session is presented by Amir Nasserai from Define. As I told you, Define is a consulting company, management consulting company in the finance sector. It's about data warehouse implementation with AnalyticsCreator at a big insurer in Germany. Yeah, I think we can do the handover to Amir. You can.
Yes, thank you very much, Peter. Can I present?
Yes, you can now. I stop my presentation and you can.
Okay.
You can press the button, get control.
Okay. Can anybody see my screen?
Yes. It's working. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Yes, the topic today is, as Peter already mentioned, data warehouse implementations with AnalyticsCreator at some insurer companies for internal group controlling. And first of all, I will give you a short overview of what my company, where I'm working. We have our expertise is in banking and capital markets mainly, and of course in insurance and asset management, but we are also focusing ourselves in chemicals, energy and manufacturing, but also in pharma and healthcare. And for a small percentage, we are also have projects in mobility and transportation. We are 50% physics and mathematics and other subjects. And we have 7 locations with our main location in Frankfurt, but also in Vienna or Berlin. We have other office locations where you can visit us, or where our customers, our main customers, are in Frankfurt am Main. I will give you a short overview about insurance business and its roles, to get some idea how insurance companies work, which products they have, and which parties are involved, like partner or the sales and the company itself. And some KPIs from the sales controlling view, which are interesting for planning and how to manage or to control the new products which are getting into sale. And after that, I will give a short view of the modeling of our data warehouse at the insurance company, and what was the background of the data warehouse project and the motivation. And after all, I will give you a view of the data model and how we implement it in AnalyticsCreator. So what are the basic questions, how the business of insurance companies works, and how does it lead to the data model? So we have 3 main questions. And the first question is, what are main businesses areas of insurance companies? Who are the brokers and with whom do they make the business? And which success quantities is the controlling interested in? And from these 3 questions, we can create a data model for contracts, and sales data can be then integrated from the view of data of customers, the data of distribution channel, and the data model has to fulfill also the requirements of the controlling departments. At insurance companies, we have a subdivision into line of businesses. There are many types of products, and the main lines of businesses are health insurance, legal protection insurance, life and pension insurance, and composite insurance. And there is a hierarchy. For example, if you consider life and pension insurance, you have an insurance type, which is, for example, a classical pension insurance. And Then you have some products which are very specific for the customer, and for example, something like an immediate pension product. So this hierarchy has to be considered for the data model later. And here is some example which leads to a hierarchy data model into insurance companies. For example, if you consider the line of business, this could be, in this case, typical life insurance, and the insurance type would be a pension insurance or a risk life. And the product is, for example, residual death insurance, classical death insurance, or immediate pension. And then you have the fourth hierarchy structure, which is the tariff, where you have many options like capital options or death protection option, which is very specific and yes, I would say yeah, for the customer build up insurance tariff. Which parties are involved in this case? There are three main partners, if you want to consider it. This is the supplier, this is an insurance company, which I also already mentioned, is divided into, or could be divided into three main companies, which are in general also from a legal perspective separate. For example, life insurance companies, health, and composite. Composite insurance companies could be then car insurance, liability, accident or property, fire or legal protection. And on the other side, we have the sales market. The sales market is where the brokers, the sales force, sales offices, banks, and central distributions could be the broker to sell the products which the insurance company is building. And on the other hand, we have the consumer. These are the policyholders. The policyholders could be companies, industries, the private sector, and the public sector. And as you can see on with these arrows, the consumer has a demand for the insurance protection and gets the supply from the of the insurance products from the broker. The broker is interested in to get a bonification and gives the stimulus for new products and tariffs from the demand of the insurance or protection of the consumer. After that, there is, in some case, a contract between these parties, and of course, there is an insurance benefit for the consumer, and he gives, of course, a premium for this protection. Okay, so far we are in the next part, some KPIs from the sales controlling view. The controlling department is the main user for the data warehouse. There are many dimensions here, just a few dimensions which I have listed, and some KPIs and relative KPIs which I listed here, but you can imagine these are just some KPIs and classical dimensions which I'm mentioning here. For example, insurance life of business, they are interested to slice and dice the dimension of which products or which branches of insurance products did I sell. The sales area or the distribution channel is very important. How many products did I, for example, have sold in North Rhine-Westphalia or in Bayern, for example, and the status of the of those contracts. Are they just on hold, or are they paid regularly? The payment method is also, for example, very important. And there are also KPIs which are very important for the controlling in terms of premium sum. How many premiums did I get from a perspective of 1 year, for example, or 1 month or 1 week? The insured amount. How much did I sell, for example, life insurance products? And for example, the insured amount is very important for the bonification of the brokers. So they can plan from the insured amount how much bonification it will give the next year, for example. And of course, we have the relative KPIs per premium sum per agent, or the insured amount per agent. These are some KPIs which are very important for the monthly report in the sales controlling. Here is some example. I have it's a picture of a Power BI model which represents how much from the life insurance products. For example given is your pension or classical insurance products, and here are the premiums from 1 year or from 1 month here from October 2020. And this is a classical monthly report which the controlling is considering, and this is just one of these whole branch of reports they are interested in. Just to give you an example for that. And modeling data warehouse at an insurance company with AnalyticsCreator is the second part. I hope I give you some overview in the first part of how insurance businesses works and how from these lines of businesses we can get a model and create a data warehouse. In the past, the data warehouse and the project I'm working in was very complex. It has a complex data mart structure, which had developed high maintenance costs. So we can see in the middle that I wrote the data warehouse 1, data warehouse 2, data warehouse 2n. So these data warehouses were very heterogeneous, and there are many data marts here which couldn't be handled very good in the last 5 years. And you see on the left side the operational systems, which are mainly life insurance contract data, partner broker data, and composite contract data. To give you a number, there are 12 operational systems which are dealing with composite contract data, and 2 or 3 life insurance operational systems. And to give you a number of data sets, we are talking here about, I think, 70 million life insurance contracts data, and also around about 70 million composite contract data. And we have 15 million partners, which are also the brokers, or including the brokers and the customers itself. The aim was to, or the new target was to create a new central data warehouse, which is built in MS SQL Server with a less number of data marts to reduce the complexity of the so far existing data warehouse landscape. And with Power BI, they wanted to illustrate or to have a new analysis tool to build up their reports on basic of the BI layer. The technical architecture is a classical 3-layer model with staging area, integration layer, and business layer, where the staging layer is, or the staging area we called it, is something like import layer. and raw data from the staging layer is historized in this first part of the integration layer. But we also have to separate the personal data because they are very under the European restrictions that personal data is to be protected. We have separated in a scheme which is separated from the raw data to have some anonymization operations, etc., and can be done in this scheme here. But we have also department business rules, or the view logic, if you will, or if you want to, or the transformation logic is also here separated and is a little bit more dynamic, so that that you can modify your business rules at one place and not over the whole data warehouse architecture. The consumer access is, as I already mentioned, done with Power BI and SIS, but there are also analysis tools which I didn't mention here, and statistic tools which are but mainly they are using Power BI and SAS for creating their reports. And some words to these layers. As I already mentioned, the staging area is something, or was something optional, but we also implemented it as just a technical layer where uniform transformations are carried out within the data storage. And you can see it just like an classical import layer, but it can also be used for historizing and versioning the storage or the data in this layer. But it's not mentioned on this slide, but we had two different staging areas. We called it something like the import staging layer and the persisted staging layer, where in the persisted staging layer we historized our data. The integration layer, as I also mentioned earlier, includes the layers, the sub-layers, the raw data, personal data, and department business rules and dynamic data. The raw data is just normalized way of storing the data without any transformations, and includes all data of the lowest granularity of the delivery systems. And the personal data here, this level here, is a layer where we have to be very careful because of the code of conduct and DSGVO rules. And partner relationships, for example, are outsourced to separate link tables because they are very important in terms of storing those sensitive data. And the business rules are stored in the form of mappings and control tables. That means that if you want to, for example, have some generated fields from the raw data, the business rule from that is typically outsourced and some forms of mappings and control tables, so that at these levels, or at these in this part, you're able to modify if you want to the business rules in the future, and not to modify it in the whole DWH landscape. The dynamic data is just storage of the data generated by the raw data using these business rules from these scheme here. And what is an example An example would be something like movement sets of contracts, yeah, including movement types and change information. For example, by sales channels or product categories or profit centers. Yeah, the business layer is separated in some parts like data marts, ad hoc views, and okay, this is a German word, standard reportings and cubes. And for example, if you see these data marts, these are the basic for the provision of subject-specific data marts and cubes. And yes, I don't want to be very or consider this now at this point. I will just mention that these data marts are very built up for the Power BI models, which are mainly star schema models with dimensions and facts. And these ad hoc views are something very for some controllers which are interested in analysis, which are not contributed for the standard reporting. And so what is the data model? The global data model consists of several modules, technical topic blocks, which are linked with link tables in a data vault manner. So as I mentioned before, we have 4 or 5 main topics here. These are the contracts, the contract data, and the partner data, the benefits, the process data. Process data is something like the data of internal processes, where something, for example, if you have an accident or you have to be, you change your email address, you give some information to the insurance company, and then you have a process of changes internally, and these processes called activities are then recorded in some CRM system. And finally, we have the finance data, which includes SAP data, for example. And these are the 5 main topics. And in the future, we will think we have new modules which can be included by including them via this link technique, which we adapted from the data vault conceptions. This is something like a picture, so don't be afraid that it is German. This is the model in a short model, I would say, an overview, just to be an abstract model, how it could be recognized here. That we have here the contracts and the partner data, which are separated to be from the contract data, and via link tables you can have a connection between these relations between contracts and partner. And as I mentioned before, the partner data, for example, are very sensitive or sensible in terms of DSGVO, where we separated them from the contract data. And of course, if you have 2 operational systems, there are 2 operational systems for contracts and partner data. So it is obvious that we have to separate them also in the data warehouse. So the implementation of the data model was built up in AnalyticsCreator with a test integration production database in the Azure cloud. And we began with the process data here to implement it, and with the partner data first in AnalyticsCreator. And As I mentioned, the test environment and the production environment is in the Azure cloud. And our experience with AnalyticsCreator for modeling data structures and data lineage, we have seen that we can build very fast some prototype of data objects like tables, views, and stored procedures to illustrate the client how the model could look like. Also, it is much more efficient to build it in AnalyticsCreator to have an overview how things are real, how objects are related to each other, and how maybe business rules and, for example, transformations can be then easily seen from the client. And of course, it was very important for us, especially in terms of historization, because if you have contract data, especially, you have to historize them to see how the contract life or the life of the contract is changing over the time. And with this large library of optimized historization procedures, which include SCD1, SCD2, and options like sources historize or persist tables, it was very easily for us to have a fast data lineage of import, historization, and persisting in the data mart layer. And what was also a very big advantage was to tracing logical errors in the data lineage using the GUI of the AnalyticsCreator, because if you have some logical errors which is not obvious at this moment, or you have some data errors, you can easily trace in which transformation, for example, you have built this error in. And for many of our for many of the persons of the client, it was more easy to create objects like views, tables, without having a deeper knowledge of TSQL. But it is also very important to mention that we have a high flexibility to write sophisticated SQL codes in forms of stored procedures or scripts, and including them into the data lineage, and to visualize the dependency. And yeah, to give an overview how many objects we have 628 tables, 2,208 views, and 520 procedures, which are all built up in the in AC. And roundabout we have 3,400 data objects. And as you can see, this number is very large, and we then have make a decision to separate our repositories in AnalyticsCreator into a vertically and a horizontally line by the modules of topics. For example, process automation data and customer data and contract data, and to divide it into a staging area, integration layer, and business layer. There are many advantages at this moment. If you do this, you have a very fast and independent synchronization of each repository, and the developers can work independently from each other, and errors in the synchronization do not impact other repositories. And of course, deployments are much more faster and can be done independently of each other. So I was a little bit fast. Thank you very much for your attention. And do you have any questions?
So wow, congratulations. It's really data warehouse. And I was working several years before for Erste Group, and they tried to put a new data warehouse also in place. But the hottest topic was more or less the political things. So to really get the data silos, yeah, to open the data silos and to find the right persons that are responsible for these data silos. And just one question to that. Was this a problem also in your project? So these political discussions about data silos?
Do you mean if this was a problem because to separate them into these data silos? What is the exact question, please?
Yeah, the question is from human side. So you know, in big companies, there are often more or less political, like in politics, parties that are responsible for several areas. And I have the feeling that you really put everything together here. And congratulations. And was there no issue about silos, data silos, and responsibilities?
There were issues. There were some. I will get to this picture here. The main focus of our projects were on the contracts, because the contract data was the most sophisticated data silo. This data silo you can also divide it into 12 other data silos, including life insurance and composite and so on. And we have the main challenge was to build up a contract data model which includes also composite and life insurance products, because life insurance and composite products are very different from each other. Especially if you are considering life insurance, there are contracts which are forming contracts for example, 40 years, and composite products have another character of how long they live. They just can live 1 year, for example, car insurance product. And if you want to include them into one data model, it wasn't very easy, because the premium, for example, for life insurance is from a subject view, something else like the premium of a from the composite contracts. And if you have these two parties, you have two different personal, I would say, two persons from two different subjects, which are fighting against each other. How you can define, for example, the premium of some contract in a whole manner to bring it into one model. This was, for example, the challenge here. And this was also the reason why these data silos here, data warehouse 1 and 2 and so on, was built up, because each of these data warehouses had focus on, for example, composite, the other is for the life insurance, and so on. And the aim was to have a central data warehouse, and the challenge was to get a connection between these parties, life insurance and composite, for example, to get it into one central data model.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there more questions? We have time enough. It's no problem. You can ask.
Yeah, another question about replication between these repositories. Yeah, please, can you switch to that area? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So these are really separated databases These
Yeah, these are not really they are not really separate. Do you mean this the whole day? These are separated schemes, I would say.
Schemes, okay, schemes.
Yeah.
Okay, then everything is clear. Yeah, because
but the problem was it was so big. The model was so big that the synchronization was a little bit too gets too long. For example, we had to wait 10 minutes. And after that, we decided to separate them into these horizontally and vertically lines. And it's much more efficient because you can work on this topic, for example, for customer data, and the other can work on contract data without getting into trouble with synchronization, for example, and so on.
Okay. Cool. Good approach. Thanks.
Yeah, this is a really good example for huge data modeling, and this of course helps us also to show other big customers what is possible with AnalyticsCreator. To organize 3,300 objects in AnalyticsCreator. This is a huge thing, yeah, and it works smoothly, what I've understood, yeah. So we worked in the last years very close together and have done some enhancement that this is also possible. And yeah, it's nice to see this success. Thank you.
Thank you.